All right, at the lair, enjoying some sunshine and fresh air. Okay, so the line that Biden used, semi-fascism. Everything comes out. Somebody's gaming. Seriously gaming. He's been going at it for hours. He's grinding with the team. That's great. Um, so I'm thinking that in some way, shape, or form, the administration has totally fucked up. There's some kind of like cache of information that they're trying to get ahead of. And I'm thinking that at some point, it's the whole issue of the Azov battalion and that the junta involved people who were of what would be openly and declared fascist ideologies, um, that the Obama administration supported that then Congress tried to stop funding because literally white nationalists from all over the world were going to Ukraine to help with the aggressions against the eastern regions that were trying to just get away, like are literally like the ethnic Russians trying to get away from the junta's death squads. And this is in some way, shape, or form, at which it seems that what it appears from almost everything I'm seeing that Colonel Vindman gets involved at that stage. That's who it was, and the Vindman brothers. Key to this, why I don't know. Apparently, they're a part of some kind of operation that this is all wrapped. They're all wrapped up together in this, because otherwise they just would have never been discovered. They would have never popped up. That's what keeps happening. Stuff like this keeps happening, like Peter Strzok being actually in the FBI, but a liaison to the CIA. So he's the one who would talk to the intelligence agencies and then liaison with then FBI higher-ups so that they could coordinate investigations within the United States from the CIA, from the FBI, but the CIA is what they need to know from the CIA. Openly. Openly. This is not conjecture. It's in articles. I think it's in the Wikipedia article on him. His wife is also a spooky character, from what I recall. They're all these like kind of it's Washington D.C. people who work in the government who are spooky, and so this thing about it's actually the Republicans who are the semi-fascists. I think as usual the Democrats are trying to do that weird thing that they do where they try to label people and try to deal. What the hell? Get off me! They are constantly trying to label people with something that really is what they're doing, and they're really doing it. Like you could really point and say, no, you're actually doing that right now. Like in blue areas of the country, books like Huckleberry Finn are being banned by Democrats because of offensive language. Democrats used to want to ban Huckleberry Finn because of the offensive relationship, which was friendly, between a Negro and a white boy. They're always working to get their way, no matter what, and it's always by the same methods, by banning things and doing things that are extra constitutional, such as the student loan forgiveness. That actually geographically, Washington D.C. has the largest number of people who owe the most amount of money. Let that just sink in. It was like Zero Hedge had an article on this, like where in the United States owes the most money to colleges, and it's mostly the north. Once you get to the northwest, like Idaho, Wyoming, places like that, the Dakotas, that's where there's the least amount of student debt. Which and I think it's like really like a per capita thing, not done like, I mean, because it would make sense, in a way, because of how sparsely populated. But anyway, I'm thinking there's a cache of information that really starts to make it clear that the or the Obama administration knew. No, these people who you're saying that we should support are openly fascists. That's literally their political position. They have actual political goon squads. The way Zelensky's acting would go completely along with such a structure, being that he's banned all other parties. And arrests reporters. And so I think they're trying to get ahead of that, how obvious this is on its face, and that this is once again going to be something like so much COVID information. Remember how really it turned out that people who are not getting the vaccine at a shockingly high rate were actually the most educated in society? They'd be technically the smartest people in the world. They would be some of the smartest people in the world. We're not getting it. Well, it's probably somewhat similar. The Democrats are having this real problem with not understanding, like, no, there's a lot of people who will just understand, like, this doesn't make sense. What you guys are trying to sell us, the story you're trying to sell us, is no longer making any sense at all. It's really odd. Like, I don't know who they're counting on staying with the party, other than people who really, like, are really kind of not just die hard for the Democrats, but it really is like, if there's something, that people who kind of are kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, afraid, envious, and terrified of anything right of center. In a way that, I mean, just doesn't even make, they won't even look into libertarians, and they'll do anything. Like, at this stage, to see where the Democrats are in their stances is just, it really is, it's the chef's kiss now. Like, almost every possible thing that you would think, like, this would appall the Democrats 20 years ago, that they would have gotten to this point. It would appall them. They would never imagine. Like, no, I could easily prove that what you're supporting right now is attached to death squads and horrible stuff like this. No, I can easily prove that series of events. No, this is what your party had to do with that. It's really terrible. Like, that's like active terrible. Like, the Republicans have kicked those people out of the party. And so this is also where I want to make sure to reiterate, a lot of Democrats don't really get the structure of your party does not allow you to take it back. It's actually how it's legally as an entity organized. You can't take it back. It's tiered. It's set up like and I really mean this. If people think this would sound silly, it's set up like an Illuminist lodge, an Illuminati lodge. So what's very important about the lodge system, every lodge is truly Masonic because it has what's called the first 3 degrees, or a blue lodge. It's just one building. It could even be like a shack. The meetings is the lodge, and the individuals make up the lodge. And so the meetings have a whole way that things are done. This person speaks, and that person speaks, and this person does that, that person does this. And the business of the lodge is then discussed. Well, so if you have different what are called chapters, so these different groups that meet for different things. Now, most of you are now probably thinking, this sounds like social clubs. And so what these would have been called back in the day of the Illuminist Lodge being in existence, these were referred to as political societies. And these were frowned upon, actually. Because of the British Civil War and the results of the British Civil War and stuff, and how nasty that was. So you guys don't really get that the Democrats, being really the elitist party, the ultra elitist party, historically speaking, would they've structured it so that you will never know if that there's a secret chapter meeting. There's always another chapter. There's always another lodge. There's always an internal order, the inner order and stuff like that. And you won't know that you're not in it until suddenly decisions are made that you're like, why was this decision made? And it said, oh, it was made by the inner order. And you don't, and a lot of people don't really realize that the extra constitutional parts of the government are structured that way. So that's why these certain people popped up and were so immensely important. Books were being written by them, but by the end of it, they had bupkis. But we spent millions and millions of dollars making this person kind of famous for all this evidence they had, right? Well, it turns out this is one of these people from some kind of inner order within the government. That's what they're getting the limelight now, and they're paid hella money. Like, a lot of these people are actually paid way more money than government workers are supposed to. Like, James Comey made way more money than he was supposed to. Like he was not a cop. He was a lawyer and an executive from the corporate world put in charge of organizing the FBI. And that's this thing that passed by law. The Senior Executive Services totally functions as an inner order of corporate people, technically under the Army. For some reason, this is legally under the Army. I don't, who knows why. I would have to look into why the legislation was created the way it was, and so they can't be really fired. There's this weird way they're contracted they have a contract with the government for a period of time, and so the government has to pay them like like somebody leaving a corporation. And nobody just ever fires these people. And you have to have these people organizing the departments of the government. Like, they're the people who organize the departments of that's why there's these people who you'll see for decades floating around on the news, and they're always involved in somebody's administration. They're a senior executive. They're paid way more than the president. Fauci is very likely a part of this. That's why he's been floating around for so long. And it's totally legal. We passed this as a law. Like, it was we wanted the government to work better. So we put these people from corporate America in complete charge of it. And nobody really wants, especially the college-educated Democrat who's trying to make it, pressure is making you see reality. You can never know stuff like this. That's why they ban all these people. You can never know this shit. Like, you could never know. No, there's one, it gets worse. Two, you have to figure what would be the comic book villain way of exploiting this. Somebody's trying to do that. But then another big one is you have to understand that your party cannot be changed. It's not built to be changed. You will never have a revolution from within. You will always have these people like AOC who, because Nancy Pelosi was the AOC of another era. You weren't there to see it happen. I was. I just happened to remember this as when I was younger, that she was kind of this woman who, it's like nothing very special about her, and she was a relatively good-looking older woman, but that's what it was. That she supposedly had these wild and crazy revolutionary ideas, and they weren't. They really weren't. It was so similar. They're so similar. It's like all the Madonnas, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Lady Gaga, just another Madonna in another form. You know, it's like, and none of them as cool as Blondie. Because Blondie really knew Fab Five Freddy. She was the real deal at the CBGB, not Madonna. All right. Oh, and I just want to reiterate, feminism doesn't exist. Obviously, now we're finding out that the prick is associated through actuarial science to an inordinate number of deaths of specifically girls, minors, female minors, so that they get the prick, and that within a certain amount of time, there's this percentage chance that they will fucking die. Just fucking die. And nobody wants to deal with this. I told everybody, I want everybody who remembers this. Didn't I say that we were going to find out this has an absolutely insanely adverse effect on women? And that will be the whole thing. That's going to be the whole thing. Is the fact. Note that no matter what they say about it, nobody wants anyone to know that it could be really adversely affecting women, and that they're trying to be so hush-hush about it. They're even trying to say that it was, if you'd been fully vaccinated, this wouldn't have happened, so it means that they got the vaccine and didn't get all the boosts, so they're not fully vaccinated, so they're trying to play it that way. Unbelievable. And there's no feminists, so nobody's bringing this up. Like everything else, all these just massive assaults on women going on now in every possible way, and there's no feminists to defend women from everything that, I'd love it. It's the chef's kiss.